Historians are having a field day, diplomats are mortified, and Washington's bracing itself for the consequences of the leaking of 250,000 US diplomatic cables. The ones that have come out so far give an unvarnished insight into American foreign policy, from containing the threat of a nuclear-armed Iran, the rise of China, and the possible collapse of North Korea. But what's seizing the most attention is the brutally candid views expressed about many world leaders. The United States is trying to contain the damage by apologising and threatening legal action against the culprits. Peter Lloyd reports.
Iran has been testing its air defences this month against the possibility of an attack on its nuclear facilities. We now know that the Saudis and others in the Middle East have been pressing for American action, and in language that's explicit. King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia, urging the US to carry out airstrikes, is quoted in one cable as saying, "Cut off the head of the snake." There are differing views in Israel, according to a US embassy cable, but it warns that the Israeli Defence Force prefers airstrikes and may be going about planning them in secret. President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad of Iran is distrusted by most leaders in the Middle East, according to diplomatic cables. Hitler, unbalanced, crazy are just some of the character assessments.
What drives you? Defending victims. And I'm a combative person, so I like crushing bastards. So it is deeply, personally, deeply satisfying to me.
This is the man behind WikiLeaks, but Julian Assange's day-to-day role has become less clear since he became a fugitive from Swedish justice. He's wanted for questioning in Stockholm over the alleged rape and sexual assault of 2 women in August. Among the hundreds of US diplomatic cables published by WikiLeaks today are some which will anger key Washington allies. Saudi donors are said to be the main financiers of Sunni terrorist groups, including Al-Qaeda. And it gets very personal. French President Nicolas Sarkozy is called thin-skinned and the naked emperor. The German Chancellor is described as Angela Teflon Merkel. And Afghan President Hamid Karzai is weak and driven by paranoia. Libya's Colonel Gaddafi receives a great deal of critical attention. He's afraid to fly over water or stay in rooms above the first floor, according to cables. He enjoys flamenco dancing and has a blonde Ukrainian nurse as a conspicuous and constant travelling companion. Ailing North Korean dictator Kim Jong-il is, according to a source, a flabby old chap. The State Department condemned the release of the cables, saying it would endanger lives. Tonight, from an undisclosed location via video link to an audience in Jordan, Julian Assange delivered this reply.
It understands that we are a responsible organisation, so it's trying to make it as hard for us as possible to publish responsibly, in the hope that it can get us to not publish anything at all.
On WikiLeaks, I'm not going to comment on cables and intelligence matters, but obviously the government is keeping the matter under close appraisal, and the Attorney-General's been making some statements about our mechanisms for doing that today.
The Prime Minister has set up a government task force led by the Federal Police to assess the national security implications of cables deemed damaging to Australia's national interest. The Americans have already been on the phone to warn ministers what to expect as more confidential cables are released.
Certainly, the release of those documents, on our assessment, could be prejudicial to Australia's national security interests.
Tonight, only a fraction of the 250,000 documents have been released. It's unclear how long WikiLeaks will take to finish the job. Peter Lloyd, Lateline.